Oklahoma State hasn't beaten Arizona in Tucson since when?
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I am, of course, Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas, and we are the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from PHNX HQ3 down in lovely downtown Phoenix. Kevin, the Arizona Wildcats, will face the lowly Oklahoma State Cowboys on Saturday in what is a must-win game if this program is to make a bowl game. And we have some presser takeaways from Arizona coordinators Danny Gonzalez and Seth Doege later in the show to get to. But how are you doing on a Tuesday, my guy?
Living good, Damon. Living good is another good Tuesday to talk some Arizona Wildcats sports and sports ball with all of you good, fine folks here in our chat. Happy Tuesday to those that celebrate Tuesdays. And, Damon, it's a good day.
Who doesn't celebrate a Tuesday?
No, seriously. It's a good day anytime you can wake up, start to preview your matchup, and end up talking about the Great Depression. That is my morning. I was looking through some stats, doing some combing for this matchup for Arizona against Oklahoma State. And I realized, Damon, the last time that Arizona lost to Oklahoma officially in Tucson was it was like 1932, I believe 1932. But then our beloved Sean DePaz, Oklahoma State's lone win in Arizona in Tucson was 1932. Sean DePaz responded to that tweet and said the 1941 team would like a word. And I had to do some research in terms of what is he talking about with this. I just looked it up. I'm getting this from Oklahoma State football's official game notes. And you're going to tell me it's incorrect? And then I looked at Arizona's official game notes, and sure enough, Damon, they had that game in 1941 played in Tucson, where Arizona lost 41-14. And then I was like, all right, I got to double back and double check my sources here. I go back to Oklahoma State football. I go back to 1941 in their schedule book. And I find that on Oklahoma State's website, it says that game was played in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So we do have a bit of a conspiracy here, Damon, as to where this game was played. And it was so long ago now, there's really no way to find out. Sports Reference does indicate that it was really played in Oklahoma. So it's likely that the last time Oklahoma actually defeated Arizona in Arizona was during the Great Depression, which is an insane stat. But yeah, it's been a long time is the point of what I'm trying to get at since Arizona has lost to Oklahoma State in Tucson. And hopefully that trend will continue as Arizona looks to bounce back after a really disappointing and frustrating loss, to put it the way that Seth Doege put it today, against number 14 Iowa State on the road. Yeah, you have to look really good against Oklahoma State this Saturday, or else all expectations are, I feel like, completely reset, if not just absolutely imploded at that point, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I want to get back to PHNX Investigates here for a second, Kevin. I don't know why you're trying to move on from that. I'm thinking we need a full-scale investigation into this.
Leah
it's
said
time for you to put your big J cap on, brother.
Yeah, Leah said I should text the football program and really dive deep into this and see if, there's some sort of conspiracy as to why would this game not be listed correctly on the website. Maybe I don't know what the conspiracy might be, to be honest with you, but that's the fun. Maybe I should call Pablo Torre, see if he has any sources that I could, get with here, as Pablo Torre is known to find out. We're going to see.
I think if you could text Pablo Torre, you probably would have been doing it a long time ago, brother, because I'm pretty sure that's like one of your heroes in life. But
true facts.
Looking here at the more recent Arizona versus Oklahoma State games in history, and for some reason I look up Arizona and Oklahoma State gives me Arizona State matchups, which is
gross.
Ridiculous.
Just disgusting and nasty.
If you guys remember, of course, Arizona played Oklahoma State 3 years in a row from 2010 to 2012. I believe I attended the game in Tucson. One of them was the Alamo Bowl, and one of them was a game in Stillwater. Arizona went 1-2 in those games, Kevin, with the one win being the win in Tucson, 59-38 in 2012. But That 2010 one is always going to hurt. That was an Alamo Bowl game. And then you ended up playing, I believe, Brandon Whedon and Justin Blackmon in that game. And that's, that they were unbelievable. Justin Blackmon had 2 touchdown catches in that game. Oklahoma State won 11 games and they were number 16. Crazy. But then they came into, or Arizona traveled to Stillwater to play them, lost 37-14 in Stillwater, and then won 59-38 in 2012, like I said, in Tucson. So that's the recent football history between Oklahoma State. Before that, as you mentioned, Kevin, you got to go way back in the time machine. I think we're going to be seeing that a lot with a lot of these Big 12 teams. Iowa State, right? They had matched up one time, right? Throughout their history?
Yeah, I believe just the one time.
There's not a whole lot of footballing history between a lot of these teams, other than like maybe Texas Tech, who Arizona had like a old school rivalry with in the Border Conference. But for the most part, it's a lot of newfound rivalries that are going to be like kind of culminating in these first couple of years here.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the beautiful thing about the Big 12. I know that on the basketball side of things, this is something that you and I have really pinned as like one of the true exciting parts of being in a new conference is on the basketball side, you got rivalries that are like kind of storybook in a lot of way, like Kansas, Arizona, for example, right? But on the football side of things, you have this new burgeoning situation where like Arizona doesn't have this long history on the football side that they do on the basketball side. So you're looking to create new history and also create new rivalries at the same time. It's a really exciting moment, I feel like, for Arizona football on that aspect of things. Obviously, the on-field product, we got to see a little bit more before I can say it's exciting. But, the Big 12, being a part of the Big 12 is, I feel like, incredible in almost every way.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was interesting, the fact that they haven't really played each other all that much throughout history, but and it's probably going to be like that for a lot of these teams. But yeah, Oklahoma State, they're terrible, Kevin.
They're really bad. They're really, really bad. They have actually made another staff move recently, Damon. Former quality control coach Clint Bowen is going to become the official interim defensive coordinator and will be for this game. That happened 2 days ago now on September 28th. Clint Bowen has a lot of respect, I feel like, in the coaching ranks from what I am seeing online for his work elsewhere and at Oklahoma State, but this is definitely a step up for him on short notice. Same thing with their head coach, Doug Meacham, right? Fans in Oklahoma State seem to really like Doug Meacham, right? He seems like a likable guy when I was looking at his press conference earlier today as well. However, the adjustment for Doug Meacham to this new position is going to be real. I think he opened up his press conference, I believe, by saying like, hell, I haven't coached at a head coach level at even the elementary school football level. So he's never been a head coach, and he knows that, and he understands that is a huge adjustment. He spoke to the idea that this is a lot. A head coach does a lot. And he even said on the field, and I want to talk about this in the special teams portion of our preview today, the man forgot he was coaching special teams on Saturday. I think they had like a 4th down that they needed to either decide if they were going to go for it or punt it. And he was like looking around. Oh, that's my decision. I make that choice. I'm the guy now to do that. And he was saying usually it's just like I'm the offensive coordinator. I'm going to say go for it every time. Right? That's just my get down. I trust my offense. And now he has to really do some live time arithmetic to figure out what the right decision is. So I think that in many ways, right, we're going to talk about Oklahoma State, the football team, I'm sure, ad nauseum throughout the week heading into this matchup. But I wanted to start with their coaching staff because there's a lot of moving parts after Mike Gundy departed Oklahoma State after his very, very long tenure. You have a lot of adjustments to make there. And it feels like, despite the good showing that they had at times against Baylor, I believe it was their best offensive showing since 2021. No, the 2025 matchup is the most yards they had offensively since 2021. I guess they leave total yards, defense, and stuff. They might have had more. But offensively, it seems like Doug Meacham got the most out of his guys this past Saturday. As Damon and I spoke about, is that just that new coach juice where you feel that change, that sudden change, and you want to go that much harder? And will that be able to last into this road matchup against Arizona? I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical that it will. But Damon, where are you at with the staff changes that Oklahoma's made? Because it feels like they're on pretty shaky terms coming into this Arizona matchup.
It feels like they are just completely lost. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in week 4 firing your coach. That's tough, man.
Brutal.
Usually that happens in like week 8, That's like a good 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the season. Doing it doing it, at the very beginning of the season is you got a long road ahead of you and a lot of football to play. I mean, we were saying that on our Saturday postgame show after the loss, Kevin, like there's a lot of football left in this season. That's a bad thing if you're Oklahoma State because they're like, we got to get to the off season immediately.
Yeah.
We got to get new coach in. We got to start building stuff. You can't do it in game 5 of the year. And so I think that's the type of team that they're ready for the end of the season. I know that, we've talked about the aspect of the transfer portal. Like you're always trying to put your best tape out there for your next team. So a lot of these Oklahoma State players are probably treating this as a tryout of sorts for the rest of their season because they know that new staff is going to be brought in. That leads to a ton of changes, right? But I think teams like that can also quit pretty easily. And that's where Arizona just needs to kind of just do what they didn't do versus Kansas State and just step on a bad team's neck,
1,000%.
Like get up on them, and then just when you have the momentum, just continue rolling the momentum. Don't all of a sudden miss a kick, get a punt blocked, and then the team's back in it, right? Like that's what you can't have happen. So I just want to see Arizona go out there and roll Oklahoma State because, as you mentioned, all these staff changes, like it does seem like they're on kind of shaky ground right now, and that like how could you have stability in like a feeling of like we're ready to attack this thing if you're an Oklahoma State player? And I would argue that if they do feel that way and that shows over the course of the rest of the year, that like whoever's running the show now needs to be in charge. Like, you know what I mean? That would make them an anomaly. That never happens. So Arizona just needs to roll Oklahoma State.
Totally agree with you. And you mentioned, like, we're talking about the shaky standing that the staff is on. A lot of these players are first-year players at Oklahoma State, whether it be you're a freshman or a transfer. I know we're all familiar with how much roster turnover a team can have in the rev share era, as Arizona has some of the most transfer production out of any program in the country, right? The Oklahoma State program has a majority of their roster as newcomers. 62 of the 114 players on the roster, that's 54%, were not on this team in as recently as December. 16 of Oklahoma State's players that have at least one start are newcomers, have never played there before, right? Their star running back right now is a redshirt freshman, right? So to Damon's point, to my point, this is a team that you got to get that ball rolling early. You have to make them doubt themselves immediately, right? Because this is a team that you saw it against Baylor. Even if they're having success, if you can still push back against them, the gas will run out eventually. They can only punch but for so long. And I feel like that is going to be the situation coming up this Saturday, Damon. And I feel like it starts with the run game, right? I feel like it starts with the run game. We saw that against Iowa State a little bit. That first drive, they were really effective on the ground. It continued throughout much of the first half of that game, I feel like. But because you were playing from behind for so long, and they were stacking the box against the run because it was so successful, you had to go to the pass, right? But fun fact, all 3 FBS opponents that Oklahoma State have faced so far this season have ran for at least 200 yards, right? This is a real issue that Oklahoma State is trying to mend. I feel like it's like a boat that has a lot of holes, and you're trying to duct tape each one, but you only have a couple pieces. So you're just trying to, fix each thing as you can go. But it has to start early for Arizona on Saturday. And I feel like it begins with like Ishmael Mahdi, Kedrick Reesano in that offensive line in that run game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time, and I know we're going to continue to just kind of hammer the Arizona needs the ground game to get working, and it has been throughout the course of this season. But I definitely just think that, if you can run the ball effectively against Iowa State, you need to just put it on Oklahoma State, right? And so I expect them to very much focus on the run game. And if they want to start crowding the box, that's when Arizona will start taking some shots. And that's kind of what we were talking about with what Iowa State did. I think Arizona was very much trying to match Iowa State's physicality by kind of crowding the box. And then Iowa State was taking advantage of one-on-one matchups on the outside. I expect Arizona to kind of try to do something similar to a really bad Oklahoma State team. Is like, we're going to run the football, but if you guys really are going to sell out to stop the run, then watch out because we're going to start taking the top off of you. So that's where I'm expecting a blowout in any fashion, because I just can't see a world where this Oklahoma State defense is able to hang with this Arizona offense. And we don't even need to talk about the other side of the football. I know Oklahoma State had a good showing from an offensive standpoint for really the first time this season against Baylor. Baylor is a horrendous defense. Arizona's defense is really been pretty damn good. Even in the Iowa State game, I know that, they give up 39 points. I know Danny Gonzalez spoke today, Kevin, and actually said that when you give up 39 points, you suck, he said. So I love the mentality from my defensive coordinator, but I'm willing to give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt just from watching that game. What say you?
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with Seth Dagey, who spoke in his press conference today about how the defense, if you really look at it against Iowa State, outside of 6 plays that really put the team in a bad position, the defense was choking them out, as Seth Dagey and Danny Gonzalez like to say, right? So I feel like it was a lot of the offense putting the defense in disadvantageous, quick change positions where now the defense is on their back foot as opposed to doing what the Danny Gonzalez defenses love to do most, which is be on the front foot, be attacking, be aggressive. Can't really do that when you're down 25, right? And so I feel like it was just a perfect storm of bad context that put Arizona's defense in that position this past Saturday. Were they perfect? No. Are they going to need to be better this year? Yes. But I don't think that – I think you said this on the post game. I don't even think they're a top 5 reason why Arizona was in the position that they were in this past Saturday. That defense is going to be fine. Danny Gonzalez's defense is still confusing offensive coordinators to this day. And so, yeah, that is not a top 5 reason even as to why they lost against Iowa State by 25 points.
And as we noted on yesterday's show, still number 1 EPA per play defense in the entire country right now. So your competition for that top spot is like Oregon, Ohio State, LSU. Like it is premier programs in Arizona right there at the top. This defense has done their job every second of the way this season. I want to talk about what Sam put here in the chat. Kevin talking about wanting to see Noah use his legs more. And I want to talk about it in regards to the Oklahoma State game in particular, because I do agree that I think, we were talking about it in, I think, our pregame show right before the Iowa State kickoff of like, this is the type of game where you really unleash Fafita's legs. You saw it, I think, against Kansas State in particular, him make some huge plays on pivotal downs with his legs. And he needed to, right? Like that's where you kind of take the training wheels off and you say like, hey, we're willing to have our quarterback take a couple hits here if it's for, pivotal downs and getting big time conversions. I don't think I really want to see him run against Oklahoma State for that reason. Like it's kind of what we're talking about. Every team's rushing for 200 yards against Oklahoma State. Like I would like to see them kind of shelf that for a little bit and then try to take a team off guard more so when, you might feel like you need to win on the margins a little bit more so. Like this week I'm about not getting Noah Fafita touched. That's my priority this week. But in the future, yes, I do think, I'd like to see Noah using his feet a little bit more like he was in some of the earlier games this year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think that Fafita's legs has to be more of a garnish on your offense, right? You have to be able to move the ball in other ways and not rely on Fafita's legs. I feel like if you turn that into wanting to see it more, like Sam Alberts is saying, I think it ends up being like Arizona relying on Fafita because you're not focusing on getting the run game going. But as he says here in the chat, that's fair, not against Oklahoma State. But after that, you do want to see him mix it up. And especially in some of those games where the margins for victory are going to be very, very near and very, very close, like a Kansas or even like a Colorado potentially, right? You're going to need that extra bit of push to get you over in that game. And that could be a couple Noah Fafita 10-yard rushes. Yeah,
and like he says like against BYU, that's 100% the type of game where I think you need to, kind of unload the clip, if you will, for lack of a better term. Just, it's time to give everything that you got in a game like that. And so that's where I'd really like to see Fafita kind of selling out. But he also is really, really good at, as Pigeon says here in the chat, like he's great at deciding when to use his feet, when to get down, when to avoid the big hit. Like he does have that innate ability to kind of avoid those massive shots, thankfully, which is huge for a smaller quarterback like that, right? But hopefully we see a little bit more of that rushing ability come to fruition. Kevin, we're going to talk about what we heard from the coordinators today in their press conferences, and we'll do all that and more on the other side of this break here. Do not go anywhere.
If you are like me and that Arizona Wildcats performance on Saturday had you stressing out and you need to calm down, you could go ahead and head over to Zen Leaf Dispensaries. And if you load up over there, we can get you 50% off. How's that? Half off of a one-time purchase at Zen Leaf Dispensaries with promo code Zen, PHNX. That's ZEN, PHNX at Zen Leaf Dispensaries. Like I said, get half off of a one-time purchase. Go ahead, load up, because it is your one-stop shop for cannabis, flowers, vapes, edibles, and more, all from the brands that you already trust. So if you are interested in this kind of a thing, head over to Zen Leaf Dispensaries and get yourself half off with promo code ZENPHNX. Zen Leaf, great weed, great service every time.
Love our friends at Zen Leaf, who give us probably the greatest promo code in the history of promo codes, Kevin. But if you want to talk about the greatest rewards membership program that is free, we're talking Inner Circle. We're talking Circle K. You guys see this iconic logo right here every day on this set. We are, of course, in Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K, and we love our friends at Circle K. They have their their brand new app that they got going on right now with the Inner Circle Rewards membership program. All you have to do is choose a password, choose an email, and sign up. It is so simple, guys, and the savings are right there in front of your face. You'll save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Then every time that you fill up after that, you'll save 3 cents off per gallon until you reach premium membership status like me and Kevin, and you'll save 5 cents off per gallon. And let me tell you, 5 cents off per gallon in this day and age really stacks up over the course of time, guys. So it's just a good habit to get in, become an Inner Circle Rewards member today. Sign up, put your phone number in at the pump. It is really that easy, and you'll save 5 cents off per gallon every single time once you reach that premium status. So guys, if you're not doing it, you just hate money. That's what I keep saying, and I'm going to stick by it because it is so simple to save, and it's the cheapest gas that you'll find in the great state of Arizona. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit circlek.com for details.
I was at Circle K literally yesterday, and Carl in the chat wants to know, is it a turn that frown upside down Tuesday? How are we feeling about that?
It probably is. It's going to have to be after yesterday's show, especially the way we ended yesterday's show with the temperature checks.
Yeah. Maybe we should have started earlier with the temperature check. Yeah, it's complete disaster temperature check. I will say, I love the turn that frown upside down Tuesday. It is a little long, though. I feel like it's not as catchy. Maybe like Terrific Tuesday or something. But we can keep workshopping that. I'm with you, Carl. We do gotta find a nickname for a couple of these days in this week. We already got Fired Up Friday. I'm with it. So before we get into the coordinator takeaways, Damon, I did have one more stats note on the Oklahoma State front. This, as ugly as it might be for one side, is Oklahoma State's offense versus Arizona's defense. And as you can see, right, this is pretty much a visual representation of the context that Damon and I was outlining for the majority of this show thus far. Their offensive unit versus Arizona's defensive unit, this should not even be a competition. Arizona's defense should go out there and choke them out, as Danny Gonzalez has said, you like to say, from minute 1 to minute 40, right? This has to be a complete domination of the Iowa State offense if you're Arizona, because look at these numbers, right? Number 5 EPA against the pass, number 21 available yards percentage, number 7 on third and fourth down success compared to the number 122nd third and fourth down success on offense. The numbers really speak for themselves here, Damon.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, Kevin. And I believe we established yesterday 136 FBS schools. Yeah. So a lot of those numbers in the 120s for Oklahoma State there. Towards the bottom of all teams across college football. And that includes teams like Tulsa, who in which Oklahoma State, of course, lost to at home.
Goodbye, Mike Gundy.
Yep, that's going to do it, man. As we established 3,500 students at the University of Tulsa. In total, that's graduate students included.
There's probably more freshmen at the University of Oklahoma State than there are total students at Tulsa.
1,000%. Yeah. I'm not even sure it's particularly close.
Yeah.
And also, I believe they have the least money of any FBS football program.
It's just a tough loss.
Pretty brutal loss. They're not even a good FBS team. They're like a good Group 5 team. They're a bad one, actually.
They're not good. And then one more note before we move into coordinator stuff. Like I said, we talked about how the run game is going to be vital for Arizona in their domination of this team. Look at these numbers. This is Oklahoma State's defense against the run, right? They are not very good. 117th in EPA per game, 117th in EPA per play, 116th in total EPA, and the plays per game 37th at 111th. I just thought that this was interesting to show that, not only is the run game important ordinarily for Arizona, but it should be smooth like butter on Saturday.
Yeah, certainly. I'm looking here, Kevin, kind of diving deeper into the Oklahoma State analytics. They are 24th in plays per game total. That's their one green statistic from an offensive standpoint. Everything else is as we talked about, 120 or lower out of 136. And that's like a bunch of like regular offensive statistics, nothing specific there. But man, they are just a really, really bad football team. Well and truly. Hey, I get here. Their starting field position on defense is 38th in the country. That'll be an interesting one. As Sam noted, we lost the field position battle pretty bad against Iowa State. Maybe that keeps this thing close. Kansas State and their special teams, kind of kept them in that game versus Arizona. Like that had no business being a football game, and it was almost solely because the Kansas State kicker was doing his job, the Kansas State coverage teams were doing their jobs. Like it ended up making it close. So I don't know. As much as we think that Arizona should just absolutely steamroll Oklahoma State, like that's the side of things that I think that maybe Oklahoma State's going to have to, if they want a route to victory, a blueprint to victory, it's Arizona just capitulating on special teams.
1,000%. And I want to bring attention to Max's comment, who says, Mahdi, generational game, loading. And in response to that, Pigeon says, is Risano available for this game, or is he still out? Head coach Brent Brennan did give an update to Kedrick Risano's availability today in his press conference. He said he was on a, quote, just-in-case situation today during his press conference, and he said that they cannot wait for Kedrick to get back and hope that he is ready to play Saturday versus Oklahoma State. So you could see him on Saturday. Honestly, Damon, I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like if they hope to see him, I hope not to see him. If you don't have to play him against Oklahoma State and he's not 100%, I understand. We've talked about this with Chris Hudson and Chris Hunter as well. Like, you need them to get reps to get into game flow. But
running back's a little different.
Exactly. I don't want him taking on miles and taking on hits against a team like Oklahoma State where if you don't need him, don't play him. But it does seem like he is back very, very soon, to answer Pigeon's question in the chat.
Yeah. I would almost say that I feel that like our running back and like corner are like the two positions that are probably most like you could pretty much just like grab a guy, obviously caliber of athlete good enough, but like grab a dude off the street and just throw him in at corner and just be like, you're running man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not super complicated. It's about doing your job athletically almost. So from a running back standpoint, like, yeah, you got to know the plays, and like where to, accept handoffs, but it's not all that of a intellectual position, or you're not necessarily like from a receiver standpoint needing to build chemistry with your quarterback as much. Like that kind of stuff can be hashed out pretty quickly. So I agree with you. I think that maybe you want to see him get a little bit revved up, but I'm fine shelving Ked Risano for another week and kind of giving Mahdi the rock and just letting him cook.
Totally.
Because Mahdi's looked unbelievable in the last few games here.
I mean, he's been incredible. I'll pull up his stats right now just so we can have a more informed conversation about exactly what he's been up to. But the man has been on fire, right? Like, you
kind
look
of crazy after the way that the Hawaii game went down week 1, right? Because I remember I tweeted, Kevin, when they went out there for that first drive, and I said, Ked Risano over Ishmael Mahdi on the first drive as a starter is pretty interesting. And I had some people being like, not really, bro. And then now you watch Ishmael Mahdi and you're like, he's one of the best running backs in the conference.
Yeah, he had 23 on 6 carries against Hawaii, 9 carries for 51 yards against Weber State, and then the huge big kahuna, 22 carries, 189 yards against K-State. Only 1 touchdown, and it's come in that Hawaii game for whatever that's worth. But yeah, he has been absolutely eating defenses alive. 13 carries, 85 yards against Iowa State, and that's even with them having to throw the ball as much as they were, even with them selling out against the run early on in that game. So I think Ishmael Mahdi has been a complete revelation. It makes a lot of sense as to why, I know this is a silly thing to bring up, but it's true. It makes a lot of sense as to why, like, EA College Football 26 had him by far and away the highest rated running back on the roster preseason. It's because of the expectations that talent evaluators had of Ishmael Mahdi, and now you're seeing it in real life on the football field. He is a psycho. We talk about it all the time on this podcast, and we absolutely love that psycho, talking to defenders, waving in their face, VJ Payne, where you at? And I think, Iowa State, you didn't get the W, but he was one of the bright, shining parts of that game. Like, he was like some diamonds in the rough if you're searching through the rubble of that game against Iowa State. Ishmael Mahdi, 50 carries, 348, a touchdown, 7 yards per pop on the season so far.
Great statistics. 7 yards per pop is unbelievable. And he really was the kind of the lone shining star of the offense from the Iowa State performance. And I guess I say lone shining star, but as we've discussed, Kevin, the offensive line seemingly did their job as well and deserves plaudits for their performance against Iowa State.
Yes.
But from a skill positional standpoint, absolutely definitely the lone bright spot. Chris Hudson had a decent game, but outside of that, people were, I thought, pretty lackluster. So, by the way, we didn't talk about this, Kevin, and I do want to talk about this on air, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but in the press conference after the game, when they asked the question to Brent Brennan about Chris Hunter and his performance on Saturday.
Oh, didn't you tell me this? I think
we were watching it together.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I just wanted to talk about it on the show.
No, you're good. I was more so thinking you said you were going to put me on the spot, and I was like, wait, I think I've been on this spot before. I think I'm from familiar territory, but please continue.
Not with a camera in front of your face, Buster, but the 10 targets, 5 catches for Chris Hunter on the weekend, and it was honestly, I thought, a pretty lackluster performance. There were a few catches or passes in there, targets in there that felt catchable. And I know Noah Fifita wasn't on the money, and we've talked about that plenty. Like, he was a little bit off, right? Like, he was throwing slightly behind Chris Hunter a few times, but clearly there's some sort of disconnect going on right there because they were not on the same page, and they were not, the ball was not being placed where Chris Hunter was running his routes. And it's probably a combination of a little bit of the two of them. When they asked Brent Brennan about this in the press conference after the game, he responded with, didn't he have 10 catches? And he had 5 catches.
10 targets.
He did have 10 targets, but he thought he had 10 catches.
Yeah, I mean, that's
kind of crazy, no?
It's a tough look. I think it's one of those things where you're in the moment and you're like, oh, he had 10 catches, targets. I think those numbers might conflate, but you're in the moment. You might remember a couple good things he did and maybe one bad thing he did. But yeah, it was definitely not a good look. I remember looking with you at that clip and being like, he was on the sideline. Front row for some of these. But I think, look, Seth Dagey talked about it in his presser today, and we're going to get to that still in this show. But I think part of it, we can get to it now, it wasn't just Noah Fifita and his receivers that were out of sync. It was also Seth Dagey and the offense was also out of sync.
For sure.
Right? He talked about there being times where he looks at the field and goes, we got him. This is exactly where we wanted him to be. I've called the play the way I want it to be called. Noah knows it, and now we're going to get going, and the play is called. Noah makes the wrong read, or the receiver runs the wrong route, and Seth Dagey's up in the box like, wait, guys, we repped this. It was perfect. What went wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to get more into that later. But in regard to what you said about Brent Brennan's comment, I don't read too much into it, but that, as Max, says in the chat, yikes. Right? It's just not a good look. It's not a good look to be on the sideline and not have enough command over what happened in the game. There are some athletes, some coaches where you ask them, hey, what happened in the third quarter with a minute and a half left? And they go, oh, yeah, that was, so-and-so ran this, and then they came down, and then the next play, and they can run you through the entire thing like you're watching it with them in live time. Brent Brennan clearly is not cut from that cloth. I don't think it's I don't think this is the biggest red flag in the world for Brent Brennan. There are bigger red flags for Brent Brennan than that. But it was not a good look.
He was put on the spot, obviously, not a good look. But I just didn't love the answer because I thought it was pretty clear from the eye test that the Chris Hunter to Noah Fifita to Chris Hunter connection was not working at the level that we want it to work at. And anytime you have a 2-to-1 target to catch ratio, I think there's clearly a problem there. In terms of that connection. So I don't know, man. I mean, I don't want to turn this into just a pile on. That wasn't my point, but I do think that it's we got to figure some things out because that was not a good enough performance. Even if maybe some people are watching it being like, man, Chris Hunter's going off. And it's I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, listen, you just got to figure some things out from a passing standpoint, in my opinion, because the run game seems to be working, but you haven't seen that full scale Arizona offense just kind of lighting the world on fire, airing it out, right? And so I think a lot of Arizona fans are waiting on that performance from Noah Fifita and Seth Dagey and company.
Yes. And also, Damon.
Thank you, Kevin's mom.
Good hat choice, I guess, Damon. Every time you wear this hat, people compliment it in the chat.
They do.
Every
really
time.
The streets love this hat.
The streets do love the baby blue hat. But yeah, we were talking about Seth Dagey in relation to this offense. And Seth Dagey, alongside his quarterback, Noah Fifita, took a ton of accountability in their press availability recently about this loss, right? Mm-hmm. To the point where they're respectfully arguing with each other about, like, it's not your fault. And the other guy's like, no, dude, it's not your fault. It's my. Like,
I'm so silly sometimes, Coach Dagey. I'm just a silly goose. That's on me. It's not. You called the right plays, my man.
Yeah, no.
And then meanwhile, Seth Dagey's like, no, you're being too hard on yourself. Gosh darn it.
It seems like this week there were some legitimate disconnects for the first time, it seemed, listening to Seth Dagey, where to this point he had just assumed that everything he's telling Noah, and Fifita apparently is an incredible note taker. We know he's very meticulous. It's not like he's not listening. But sometimes you just got to confirm, double back, say, hey, when this happens, what is your read? Right? Just make sure he knows it, because there were some plays where, like I said earlier, Dagey would call it. Fifita would either take too long, have the wrong footwork, make the wrong read. The receiver might not make a good enough attempt at his route. Mm-hmm. For example, Noah Fifita's first interception, Dagey said they repped that play 3 times against that exact defense in the week prior to the Iowa State game. And not only was it perfect, it gave him so much confidence that when he saw it, he was like, we got him. This is going to be a huge gain. He calls the play, and the player that was assigned to the flat was supposed to run a very intense, hard route. They hesitated on their route. The corner was able to float back a little bit further than they ever had when they repped it, because they're running at full intensity, no hesitation there. And then Fifita, who can't see that person who's in the flat, throws it to who he thinks is an open receiver, and up comes the corner to make the play, and we're going the other way for Iowa State. Stuff like that, where you just have to be super meticulous and super detailed to a man on an 11-man roster, right? Or 11-man side of the ball, right? And I think that the disconnects against Iowa State, it didn't seem too alarming to hear Dagey talk about that kind of stuff. It felt like stuff he indicated that could be ironed out with some of the receivers and some of the quarterbacks that he's trying to, build this connection with. But definitely was a little surprising to hear just how often there were disconnects against Iowa State compared to this whole summer and whole spring, where you really didn't have that between Noah Fifita and Seth Dagey. You said this on the postgame show. This is our first time really understanding that Seth Dagey, he's not a perfect sweet boy, right? Seth Dagey makes mistakes. Seth Dagey's not perfect. He said as much today in his press conference that, like, you might think you have a really good process to your day-to-day. You might think that you wake up and maximize your 24 hours and then you lose. Clearly you're not. How can you go back through and maximize even further and teach even better? Mm-hmm. He said that, like, quote, my job is not to coach them harder, it's to coach them better, right? And I think that Seth Dagey trying to go be more detailed in this offense is going to help the passing game be more efficient, because last weekend it was not good enough, right? You can't have guys like Chris Hunter and Chris Hudson, who you're going to be relying on a lot this season, I feel like, be inconsistent. You can't have Noah Fifita be inconsistent, and then when he does make a good throw on a crucial moment in the game, it gets dropped. So yeah, it was a mess on offense on Saturday in a lot of ways. The offensive line, surprisingly, was not a part of that. We did see growth from them. Dagey called it disappointing and frustrating, their performance on Saturday. He knows they have to be better. Fifita knows they have to be better. I have faith that they will be better.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole offseason, right, it was touted, and we're part of the problem here, Kevin. We are absolutely the crux of the issue. Talking up this Arizona receiver core, right? Like that was the name of the game. That's what everybody was doing. Whether, you were out there at practice, like our guy Justin Spears in the camp reports, whether, it was Seth Dagey or Brent Brennan every time they got in front of a camera, or Noah Fifita even. I mean, everybody was touting the weaponry that Arizona had put together in the offseason as a big part of the reason why this team was going to be a lot better in 2025. And the team is a lot better in 2025. And I think that overall the weapons are deeper, right? Like, you're not relying on Chris Hunter to, like carve a rollout for himself that you had never seen before. like you did last year to become the wide receiver too. You have guys in the room, right? You know, hey, we could throw the ball to Luke Weissong more. Hey, we could throw the ball to Trey Spivey more, right? Like those guys could definitely see some more opportunity, and I don't think anyone would blink twice. But you got to get them working on the level that you talked them up to, right? And what we've seen thus far has been very underwhelming, in my opinion, from what the expectation level was. Like you have the Nunu Watley game versus Weber State. And other than that, Kevin, there's not really one notable receiver performance to talk about on the year. The next best is probably Chris Hudson last week. And it's like, how much did he really even impact the game? I mean, it was pretty much over when he was making most of his catches, right? So it's like, I got to see a lot of these. I got to see these receivers start impacting games and being the reason that Arizona is like competing on offense in these games, because that's what they told me. That's what everybody told this entire fan base going into this season was, man, these weapons are truly special. We got a big collection. And it's like, we haven't seen it come to fruition at all yet.
To your point, Damon, in each of Arizona's first 4 games this season, they've had a different highest receiver. Phelps in game 1 with 50 yards, Watley in game 2 with 168, Hunter in game 3 against Kansas State with 37, and then Hudson against Iowa State with 67. I also want to add that I would say I'll be fair and say 2 of those performances should never be your highest receiver.
Yeah.
50 yards and 37 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? So, like, to your point, like, and Seth Dagey talked about this today. Receivers have to step up in these moments where Fafita makes accurate throws. They have to pay that off for Noah Fafita. They have to pay that off for the offense and help them move down the field. Right? Like to what you said about Sam Olsen earlier is still true, and it applies to other players across the country, right? The quarterback can't walk up to you, put it in your face mask, and say, here, grab it, right? When your team does their job, you have to do yours. Flat out simple, right? And I think the wide receivers so far, they would tell you the same. I don't think that they've done their job to the highest level that they can thus far. And if they have, Arizona might be in trouble from a wide receiver standpoint, because you cannot be like this inconsistent from game to game. I'm not saying someone has to step up and from October 4th to November 28th be the guy and just lead every game in receiving yards. But some consistency would be nice. If it can be Chris Hunter, if I can see Chris Hunter be the highest receiver in like 5 of the next 8 games, that'd be great. Or it could be anybody. But you do need someone that you know you can go to in these moments and you know they're going to step up. So far, it's been a lot of stepping down in these big moments for Arizona receivers. And like, I don't feel that's a hot take to say, considering Seth Dagey saying the same thing in his press conference today about 3rd and 4th downs. No, if Fafita makes good plays, they're dropped, right? Or, like I said earlier, they're running wrong routes or lack of intensity with their routes. So, got to be better in the receiver room.
Or like you think about the second Fafita interception against Iowa State, and Chris Hunter makes that catch, albeit, you know, he's kind of falling down and it's a little bit behind him, but it touches both his hands and it's on his body. The ball would have been at the 2-yard line and Arizona's threatening to score. Fafita's now maybe potentially stat padding, adding another touchdown. Instead, the next play turns into an interception because you're forcing the ball because it's like a 3rd, 4th and long type situation now. You're right. Like you don't need one guy to necessarily be T-Mac and just lead the team in receiving every single week, but it would be nice to just have a little bit more reliance on 1 or 2 guys in particular. Like, oh, we know Chris Hudson's going to have a good game because he shows up every week and he has a good game. And in fairness to Chris Hudson and Chris Hunter a little bit, they haven't played the majority of this season, right? Like there's been a bit of a you know, shelving process with those two. And we talked about that. Like, was that the right move? Because it seems like there's maybe a little bit of chemistry issues right now. And that could be something that could have been worked out against some of these lesser teams. But I need to see those 2 players in particular with a little bit less of Trey Spivey and Luke Weissong, I think, right below them as like the 4 guys where I'm like, I got to have better play out of these 4 because I expected a lot out of those 4. And I need, like, I think that they have what it takes. It's just we need to figure it out, right? And Nunu Watley to an extent too, who has looked good at times, but also has had some of the worst plays in this wide receiver room. You look back at that Kansas State game, he dropped one in the breadbasket that could have been a long touchdown. You know, that was a huge play that Noah Fafita threw a beautiful ball on. And then, of course, the interception that he threw on the reverse, which was one of the worst plays I've seen an Arizona team have. So I think that, you look at these receivers and they were talked up so much. It's like you just got to get some better play out of them for sure.
Yeah, you definitely do. And you mentioned Trey Spivey. I saw maybe it was Sam Alberts, I want to say it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the chat earlier that said, I want to see more Trey Spivey. Yeah, I actually think Trey Spivey has been, I don't want to say the only guy because I don't have the full Rolodex of every single play in my head. But I do feel like Trey Spivey, when he's been given the opportunity, has actually stepped up.
Yeah.
I think that Trey Spivey's been a guy where I think if you give him more run, you could see a lot more production. Because I think that he's been that guy that has had some sure hands so far, albeit in a small sample size. Mm-hmm. Let's see it a little bit more, right? Like we've been talking about, there isn't this defined hierarchy in the wide receiver room. I feel like if you play a team like Oklahoma State, why not move Trey Spivey up the depth chart a little bit? See what he's got. Because you've seen what you've got in other guys so far. And I think we've spoken to the inconsistency in play for guys like Chris Hunter and Chris Hudson, right? Like it's been on off a little bit. And that can be hard to play your best when you're on off. But let's give Trey Spivey a little bit of a shot. I think he's been good. We know he can be that big play kind of high point the ball kind of receiver that you need in an offense like this. So I would love to see more Trey Spivey this Saturday against a team as struggling as Oklahoma State, right? Like let's see what we have.
Yeah.
Is Noah Fafita's connection with Trey Spivey better than his connection with Chris Hunter or Chris Hudson or Nunu Watley or Luke Wysong? Let's find out. And it can't hurt the team. You're playing Oklahoma State. If he's not playing well, pull him. Get someone else in there. You have a bunch of guys that are about the same skill level as we talked about all season. So I would love to see a little bit more mixing and matching until you do have that guy. I'm not trying to say that you should Colorado quarterback this, where 1 week you're like, Chris Hunter's our guy, and then the next week it's like, well, actually it's going to be Nunu Watley. And, just figure out what you have. And I think that does start with giving Trey Spivey a little bit more run. I think he could really show you something.
Yeah, I agree with you in that he's been efficient in his more limited opportunities in 2025 here, because you go back to that Kansas State game and he makes I think that one catch.
Yeah, but it was loud.
It was loud, and he got rocked. And he held on to the football.
Had the Nelly Band-Aid on.
And that was an absolutely unbelievable play in a big play by Trey Spivey in that game. So I agree with you. Got to see a little bit more. I'd love to see more from the younger receivers too, like you're saying, in a game like Oklahoma State where you probably don't need to unload the clip. So
we probably do see some Gio in this one.
Yeah, Gio and Isaiah Mizell for sure definitely seem like they'll get some PT. Brandon Phelps as well. And that's the other thing I mentioned on Saturday is maybe a little bit too much rotation at the receiver spots going on, which like in contrast to the previous staff where they essentially played 3 wide receivers for an entire football game. Jed Fish, if you remember properly, T-Mac, Jacob Cowing, and like Montana Lamoni's Craig would be on the field for legitimately like 95% of the offensive snaps, with hardly anyone else getting playing time. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic and change in that regard. But I'd probably like to see a little bit less rotation. I don't think that starts against Oklahoma State, though. I think Oklahoma State, you definitely rotate in the young guys and get them some playing time. But Kevin, we're going to talk about maybe what Danny Gonzalez had to say as well. And I guess you have a little bit of beef you want to talk about from the Twitter streets?
Just a little bit. Only a little bit. Not too much. But we'll get to that more on the other side of this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. I might have some beef with ASU fans, but I have no beef with our friends at Monarch Money, because Monarch Money helps me keep my finances straight. It's like a personal CFO right here in my little right-hand pocket that I can always reach into and say, hey, I was just paid. What's my income for this month? Have I reached my goals? Have I exceeded my gas budget for the month? Which, spoiler alert, I did this month. But the Monarch Money app is your best friend when it comes to managing your money. If you want to, like I said, track your incoming expenses, your incoming incomes, I think this is the best way to do it. If you have goals financially that you want to set, Monarch Money will help you do that. Link an account in there, and you can, anytime you add or subtract money to that account, you're adding or subtracting money to your goal of your trip to Ibiza or whatever the hell you want to do. Ibiza, Barcelona as well. Monarch Money is built for people with busy lives like me and Damon, and I know that all you at home are surely busier than us at doing what we do. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through your fingertips. Download Monarch Money at monarchmoney.com. Use promo code PHNX in your browser for half off your first year of these money-saving tools I'm trying to get you. 50% off of 12 months of a personal CFO. Is that not the high life? With monarchmoney.com, promo code PHNX.
Love it, Kevin. Love our friends at Monarch Money, and I love the Game Time app. I talk about it all the time. There's only one place that I buy tickets, and it's on the Game Time app. Kevin, they allow procrastinators like me and yourself to wait until the last moment and get the cheapest tickets possible. It's an unbelievable method. You don't have to plan months ahead. You literally can wait until day of, time of, 5 minutes before, sometimes even 10 minutes into the game, and you can still check the Game Time app and see what they got available for tickets. I mean, guys, it's just an unreal app, and there are so many reasons as to why. They have their all-in pricing tool that, doesn't hide those fees from you like all those other much inferior ticketing apps do. They have their they show you exactly where your seat's going to be. I couldn't think of the word.
Visualizer?
Visualizer? Sure, Kevin, we'll roll with visualizer. They show you exactly what the field is or court is going to look like from your seat in the stadium. And of course, they have their Game Time Picks feature, which values tickets at their price point versus the location in the stadium for you. So you don't have to do the math on it and start deciphering, is this better than this one? They tell you what the best deal is for the best seats. And Kevin, Game Time, they do it every damn time. The interface is unbelievable. I love our friends at Game Time. It's the only place I'm buying tickets at. And if you're an Arizona Wildcats fan looking to buy some college football tickets, it's the only place to do so. You can hit up gametime.co, or you can download their free app, create an account, use promo code PHNX. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Tap ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Kevin, what time is it?
Game time.
We do love our friends at Game Time. And I just love attending college football games.
Who doesn't? It's a great sport. I don't think football is necessarily the best live sport. I think you and I have had this conversation off air a bunch of times, but it's college football. That's what I'm saying. Though. College football is like the pinnacle of the sport.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah, right? I agree with the pros. Like I'd honestly, like, part of me would be like, if you're telling me every day for the rest of my life, watch NFL on the couch or go to the game, I'm taking the couch.
Couch me up, dude.
College football though, I'm like, I think I'd like to go to the games because the fan environment in college football is unmatched, right? But
yes. And also shout out to Carl in the chat who will be flying out to Tucson this week and will be at the game with his amazing girlfriend. Thanks to our friends at Game Time. Shout out to you, Carl. Shout out to Game Time. And shout out to Oklahoma State for firing Mike Gundy. To be honest with you, makes this game hopefully a lot easier for Arizona. I have one last Daggy press conference note, and then we can segue with this into Danny Gonzalez. Pardon me. When asked about the tape for this upcoming game and how he's breaking it down with the coaching changes that Oklahoma State has gone through, offensive coordinator Daggy said he knows the tape doesn't really tell the full story of what that team is going to be doing now that Mike Gundy is gone, but he also understands that full sale changes, especially with the defense, with Clint Bowen taking over on 5 days notice for this game, is not going to be that different. It's hard to teach and reteach stuff in the course of less than a week. So I would expect, as Coach Daggy does, for the defense of Oklahoma State to look a lot similar on tape to what they have been running and have been repping all season. And then on the other side of things, Coach Doug Meacham had some praise for Arizona's defense and what Danny Gonzalez has been able to do. I would have clipped this, genuinely, I would have, for the show. And I just had to say this. The audio on that press conference from Oklahoma State today, oh my God. It was like it's like the mic was inside of his skull. That's what it was. Like the mic was inside the guy's mouth.
I wouldn't say this if it was about the Arizona media team for obvious reasons, but maybe Oklahoma State's media team's packing it in too.
Ooh, maybe. Who knows?
Packing in a little early?
Maybe they are.
Whatever. Who cares? No one wants to watch this press conference anyways. We suck.
It's just that Meacham guy. Who? Oh, the new coach, dude. Oh, you were off last week. Okay, I get it. Yeah, Gundy's gone. Anyway, Coach Meacham did say that Arizona does an incredible job in their 3-3-5 of, what's the right word? Making it unique, I'll say. It's not a traditional 3-3-5 in the way that the Big 12 has become used to with Haycock at Iowa State, for example, who Arizona faced just this past weekend. what Danny Gonzalez's defense has been able to do in terms of filling run gaps from unique spots on the field, bringing DBs down into the box just to drop them back up. And I think that bite from Coach Meacham of Oklahoma State, I think really shows how Danny Gonzalez's defense, while if you're not in this conference, if you're not a listener of this podcast, you might not really give a damn about what the stats Arizona has been putting up so far. You say, oh, they played Hawaii. They played Weber State. They played the worst team in the Big 12, K-State. And now they're about to play the actual worst team in the Big 12, Oklahoma State. And you want me to care about this defense? Yes, I do. Because what everything is telling me is that this defense is real. And this defense is competitive, right? Danny Gonzalez is getting respect from every opposing coach that is coming up against Arizona so far in terms of the creativity of his aggression on defense. And I don't think that is something we should really be looking over in this one. I think the defensive line even is going to dominate in this game. And they've shown some up and down performance, I think, so far this year. But I think against that offensive line, who Coach Meacham said himself is light up front right now for Oklahoma State, I expect, Trey Smith and them boys to absolutely get after it.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan of attack there, Kevin. You want to see line dominance in a game where you're just better than the other team, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's going to be a big one for Arizona this weekend when they match up against Oklahoma State. Just some of the notes from defensive coordinator Danny Gonzalez today, Kevin. Danny Gonzalez mentioned that if you give up 39 points, you stink. I believe he was asked something to the effect of, like, what was your vision for how the defense played on Saturday? And he said, that's my vision. You stink if you give up 39 points, wow. Which is very funny. And I love the mentality from especially my defensive coordinator, right? And I know Seth Daigie's wired the same way too, but I think that you need that like kind of aggressive mentality out of your DC. And then went on to say, hopes it's 100 degrees at the stadium on Saturday, is rooting for that. And let me get a quick weather report for you guys, because would he say that if it wasn't in the cards? 90
We're now
degrees.
throwing it to Damon with the weather report.
As you can see, we have some cells working in here from the southeast. No, but it's supposed to be 90 degrees on Saturday, and it is a noon kickoff, so it's going to be a hot one. Guys, wear your sunscreen. Bring some shade.
Some Shady Rays.
Bring a hat from your friends at Brandon Bills.
Get some water from your friends at Circle K, and fill up your car so that you don't run out of gas on the way home and you don't have any AC. I think all the sponsors we work with here can help you stay cool at this football game.
Absolutely.
Get in the door with Game Time? Are you serious?
I mean, Danny Gonzalez didn't have like a ton to say in terms of, like X's and O's or plan of attack or anything. But I thought that he was very consistent just in terms of like what we've done so far is not good enough. We got to continue to press and get better, and that Iowa State was a massive disappointment for this team, and that they're going to treat it as such going into a game versus the absolute laughingstock of the conference, despite them being the laughingstock of the conference. Not that he said that. I'm saying that.
I get you. And I also I believe he gave a shout out to Becky Burke and the women's basketball team to end his press conference. I believe I'll have to confirm that after, because they were live streaming it as I was doing show prep for today's podcast. So I didn't get to finish the presser, but I believe he gave a shout out. And if he did, that is a very classy move from Danny Gonzalez, it's W season, and that means women's basketball for the college side is coming back around very soon as well. So very excited about all that.
Mighty Mercury,
indeed. We do have a Scorch emote in the chat now for our MVP members, so rip that Scorch emote. I've been ripping it today as well. It's very fire. And if you are interested in how to use these emotes, please become a member of our supporters club. We have an MVP level, a Hall of Fame level as well. You can even gift supporters clubs memberships if you're like our guy Bees, who, yes, he is an ASU fan, but he's a very good dude. He gifted a supporters club membership to somebody earlier today. So be like Bees, become a supporters club member. Be like Max, be like me, be like Harvey Manfred Jensen, our guy in the chat as well. And become a member. Go Easy Cats G. Become like Deborah Owens. Become a member of the supporters club.
My goats.
Yes,
you just named all my goats, Kevin. And yeah, I mean, I think, I think Carl asked a little bit earlier in the show, when is the turnover sword emoji going to be in the chat? Carl, we'll get an answer for you on that one right after we get off air, because that is of the utmost importance to this podcast.
And can I keep it real with our friend Carl, who's a very nice guy, before I say this? The turnover sword emote, it ain't dropping for you unless you're in the supporters club, my friend.
Maybe that's what he's waiting on.
I'm sorry.
Maybe that's what he's waiting on.
I'm just letting him know that you gotta get into the club to use the turnover sword with the guys and the friends and the girls. That's all I'm saying.
Are you doing you're kind of, it's not the same, but you're doing the how you gonna hate from outside the club.
You kind of read my mind. That actually is where my mind went. I was listening to some Chris Brown, some Sea Breezy this morning, but that's neither here nor there. To wrap up today's show, Damon, I did want to expel some beef. And we're going to have to do that in overtime today because we did go over our allotted amount of 1 hour. Welcome into overtime on the AZ Wildcats podcast, where today I will end the show by celebrating the media literacy of Arizona football and basketball fans, and by degrading the media literacy of Arizona State athletics fans, of which they have zero media literacy. As you guys know on this podcast, we do bi-weekly quarterback rankings. Now that means that there's some new information that comes up in every 14-day stretch where you might play 2 games in that stretch. Might have up to 500 yards, 5 touchdowns in 2 games. That's what some quarterbacks are doing. We released our week 2 quarterback power rankings, Damon, after Sam Levitt put 82 yards on the board?
Yeah, I believe it was 12 of 22, 82 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, I think was the final stat line.
And I think if you asked any ASU fan after that game, they would have said, man, that was a bad game from Sam Levitt. And
there was a little bit of Marcos Arroyo really screwed Sam Levitt in this one.
True,
and you're like,
True.
That's why he had less than 100 yards?
True, and it was kiss max, but true. And I think, when you're talking about this performance.
10 of 22, I apologize. And 1 touchdown.
So we ranked him at, I ranked him at, I believe, 8. And this is after Noah Fafita started out as hot as he did. I think at that time he was the number 1 rated passer in the conference for QBR. So I ranked him at 7, right? It is now week 5. We have now concluded week 5. We are moving on to week 6. Sam Levitt has found his form. Plaudits. Congratulations to Sam Levitt for finding some form and looking like he can rebound and regain his stature amongst the Big 12 quarterbacks. I got ASU fans, though, Damon, in my replies to my week 2 quarterback power rankings saying, I guess we got to do an update. Oh, I guess this aged like milk.
We will next week.
What are we talking about? What did you read the graphic where it says week 2? And then did you go to the week 2 game log where your QB stunk it up? Did you do that? Or did you just go back to my tweet and say, oh, dude, this Arizona guy had Levitt at 8, and now Levitt belongs at 3, 4, 5 in that range? Yes, Sam Levitt has improved. And we're going to see next Tuesday where he actually ranks in our Big 12 QB power rankings. Updated. If you go back to week 2, it's outdated. And you want to hold my feet to the fire over something I said in week 2 that was accurate? It was accurate.
Where is Sam Levitt supposed to be realistically when he has 82 passing yards and 2 turnovers in a game that they lose by less than a possession? Where are you supposed to put him? Are you supposed to be like, whatever? We only have 2 weeks to go off of here in doing this exercise, but his bad week that was the worst week of any of these QBs in this conference this season, which it was, and that's not to say that Mississippi State is not great competition. They are. That was a tough game.
On the road,
but
cowbells swinging.
That is almost certainly the worst QB performance in the conference this season in a single game. And after 2 weeks, you got to treat it as such. That's one of the 2 things he showed you. And the other thing he showed you was a not very good game versus NAU. And so we evaluated it as such. And I've been a little bit higher on ASU than Kevin was. I think Kevin was just not going against you. I think you were being more reactive to the early stuff in the season on purpose because that's all we had to build off of. Whereas I was a little bit more like, I think they're going to figure it out. So I'm going to keep them higher, but I understand where you were coming from just based off of seeing what you saw. But you're 100% right. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I'm glad that I graduated.
I have people tweeting at me still about Saturday, saying that their student section was laughable.
That's crazy. You were there in the building. But it's crazy that, at the end of the day, Damon, I'm just happy that you and I graduated from the U of A, right? And we can read and we can scroll social media and not be fooled or make ourselves look like fools because we can't read. I'm not saying every ASU fan can't read. Bees is in this chat every day. I'm sure he knows how to read. I've met him in person. He looks like a very capable individual. but not every ASU fan is a very capable individual. And I think Twitter proves that. I think the worst ASU fans, they all flock to Twitter.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know why
the
that's
real life
the case.
ASU fans are actually pretty good,
Correct.
people.
Yes.
To my experience.
Mine
and I've
as
met
well.
A lot of them.
Mine as well. I have some friends from high school. A couple of them that went to ASU, right, all the way out in St. Louis.
The burner verse is nasty.
The burner verse is insane.
It is.
So yeah, I just wanted to end this show by saying
they're like one of the craziest fan bases I've seen in terms of like real people to burner ratio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Like most fan bases that have like legit human beings that run their accounts, not just a bunch of like mouth breathing bots.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, Kevin. But I had people coming at me for the student section stuff all over again today, and I'm just like, what do you want me to say, man? I was at the game. I was speaking to my experience. Yeah, I'm biased. I'm the first guy to admit that I'm biased. I don't hide that fact. I promise you. That is not something that I'm hiding. But it's like, what do you want me to, when you don't impact the game for 3.5 quarters, and then I tweet at that mark 3.5 quarters into the game, hey, been pretty lackluster. I haven't heard a whole lot. And then
what?
And then all of a sudden you get loud once your team starts doing a little bit better, and then you start affecting the game. That doesn't take away everything that I said beforehand.
Correct.
That
As someone in the building speaking from firsthand experience.
That just means that you guys are a bunch of front runners who start only cheering when your team's actually looking like they could have a chance of winning the football game.
Correct.
Whatever, Kevin. It's while we're in this seat, we'll never log off.
We'll never log off, and we'll never lack media literacy, and that's just what it is. I might get got by like an AI deepfake every once in a while, but who hasn't? You know what I mean? Who hasn't?
That's your ASU burners versus Damon and Kevin update of the week. we'll update you guys on next week on that one. But I do. Pigeon says up here in the chat, that I think it was Pigeon who talks about, or no, it was Aaron who says that ASU. Scroll up a little bit. Sorry, bad podcasting. No, ASU good. And their fans really think that they are going back to back in the college football playoff. They're not going 4-0 in their next 4 games. They're going to have to go 3-1 minimum. That's for sure. Because I think maybe 2 losses with a Big 12 championship game and one of those losses to an SEC school on the road gets you in. But if you have 3 losses, you're done, right?
Probably.
Unless you're Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State.
Probably. Unless that third, like if you retroactively
maybe it's like in the Big 12 championship or something.
That's what I'm about to say. If you say that they won that Mississippi State game and then lost to like Texas Tech and Baylor or something, and then they lose the Big 12 title game, I could see that maybe still getting you in there with the math there. But yeah, it's going to be tough if you lose 3 games to make it into where they want to be at the end of the season.
Yeah. So you're going to need to go 3-1. That's going to be a pretty tough task if I do say so myself. But they definitely look up for it to an extent. It's just a gauntlet of a schedule. And
Notre Dame can go 7-5 and get the 12 seed. They might be able to go 5-7 and get the 12. To be honest with you, Pigeon.
It's honestly probably true, but I know we do this consistently, Kevin. But just for the sake of this conversation, ASU has a bye on Saturday this weekend. They then travel to Utah for a 7:15 night game kick at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Which is going to be an absolute madhouse. I still can't believe one of the worst Arizona teams I've ever witnessed went into Rice-Eccles and won that game last season as one of their only wins in conference. But
can I be honest with you? We're going to talk about this because, like you said, they go into a bye week, so I'm sure we'll rehash this in a couple weeks. But I'm kind of done buying into, like, you can't play in Utah. You can't do it. Because it is tough, but, like, they have yet to win a Big 12 game at home.
Yeah.
They haven't done it.
I mean, last year, I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt for last year, and then their one Big 12 game they've played at home this year is against Texas Tech.
True. No, so I'm just saying that, like,
if that continues over the course of this season and becomes a habit, then yes, I'll be like, that's a disaster. But last season for them was like almost kind of like ours, where it's like, I want to just kind of throw it away and light it on fire. Cam Rising coming back and then derailing their entire season, like, the vibes were in the gutter. So I'll give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt there.
That's valid. Good context there. I'm just saying that if they do lose to ASU at home, I'm like, I don't give a damn about no Rice-Eccles.
I'm with you.
brown rice eccles, white rice eccles, I don't give a damn.
That's an exercise I like to do often. Whatever ASU does, I then demean the accomplishment by thus trying to.
I don't want to do that
because
they're still talking about our K-State win. They're still. I don't want to do that.
What's funny is I actually don't do that at all, but people will tell you that I do that by being like, Kenny wins a lot of close games, and they'll be like, Damon says that these wins don't matter, and I'd be like,
looking at the sitcom camera, like, what?
The draft video?
Yeah. Me?
That's how it feels sometimes where I'm like, I don't know. But you go on the road at Utah, then you get Texas Tech at home, then you go Houston at home, Iowa State on the road. And that's kind of how they map out these next 4 games. But they got the 2 3-point W's against Baylor and TCU. So they're off to a pretty blazing start in terms of their gauntlet 6-game schedule here. But we'll see. I think these next 2 are pretty much going to be pivotal for them in terms of their college football playoff appearances and whatnot. Because I think Utah on the road, Texas Tech at home are absolutely insane games. But we will see. First off, though, Arizona has to take care of business versus Oklahoma State this weekend. We'll be covering that all throughout the rest of the week. Of course, we will not be live tomorrow. Tomorrow is our off day. Remember that. No Wednesday shows. Thursday, Friday, we'll be back at 2 p.m. Then on Saturday, we'll be doing a pregame show 30 minutes prior to kickoff, and then be doing a postgame show 10 to 15 after the clock hits 0. Going to be a lot of fun.
You got to tell the people. You got to tell the people that Thursday show, Spears ball. Justin Spears ball. Long snap and Spears on the show Thursday.
Friday. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we're not doing a 2 p.m. Friday show. I blew it. We're doing a Red Blue Game post-game show on Friday. Me and Saul Bookman, who's going to be at McHale Center on the floor doing the post-game show with me. We're going to kind of just review what we saw from Arizona basketball in their first kind of like real appearance of the 2025-2026 season. And my guy Kevin Thomas won't be anywhere to be found. He's been counting down the days for Arizona basketball. And then on the day of the Red Blue game, when we get to see him for the first time, Dwayne Aristo dunking on people, Bryce James threes in people's mouths. And Kevin's nowhere to be found. Where in the world is Kevin Thomas when you need him most?
At a wedding.
All sad.
At a wedding. Celebrating the joyous union of 2 people. Missing Dwayne Aristo dunks.
Celebrating the sanctimony of love between 2 individuals.
And missing Koa Pete post-ups. That's what I'll be doing.
Facts.
I'll still be tweeting. I'll still be tapping in.
Yeah, I guarantee Kevin still will be. But like I said, off tomorrow, Thursday, 2 p.m., Friday postgame for Red Blue, Saturday pregame and postgame show for Oklahoma State. It's going to be an absolute banner week to close out the rest of the week, and we cannot wait for it. He is, of course, Kevin Thomas. You can follow him at Kevo Post. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all socials except for TikTok, where we're at AZ Wildcats Pod. Of course, we're doing daily TikToks up over there, so you're going to want to make sure you follow that account. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and rate and review on your favorite podcasting platform. Kevin, anything else before we get out of here today, my guy?
Oh, I won't see them till Monday. So yeah, I'm gonna miss you guys, chat, until Monday. Catch me on Mercury post game on Sunday, though. Mighty Mercury.
You see the priorities, people?
Look, the wedding is when the wedding is. If I could make it for the Red and Blue game post game show, you know that I would, brother. So yeah, shout out to everybody.
Where
I will
were
see
you
on
when
Monday.
Kevin said Merc Cats?
Crazy.
I was sitting right here. 3/14, Tuesday, September 30th.
You know what happened also in the
right
WNBA semifinals? Merc over the Cats. Lynx. See you later. You know what I mean?
That's going to do it for us today. We appreciate everybody watching, and please like this video. We'll catch you on a Thursday at 2 p.m. Make sure that you guys are there. And until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. I'll see you Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.